try this right now. Sit exactly where you are for, well, exactly 3 minutes. And for those 3 minutes, do absolutely nothing. Like no moving, no fidgeting.
Right, no scratching an itch.
Exactly. No indulging in daydreams about your weekend plans either. I mean, you are allowed to breathe and you can blink, but that is literally it. And the strange thing isn't the rules themselves. The strange thing is how quickly you will start to panic.
Oh, totally. Just hearing you lay out those parameters, my heart rate honestly ticked up a little bit. Because the idea of not even being allowed to, mentally organize my afternoon while sitting there, it is deeply, surprisingly intimidating.
Oh, and the hardest part, you have to be completely 100% content with doing nothing. But anyway, welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and as always, I've got our expert here with me to break it all down.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here to dig into this one because it really is a fascinating topic.
It really is. So that sheer panic we feel at the idea of just existing for 3 minutes, that is exactly what we are exploring today. We are pulling our insights from a truly fascinating blog post by David Cain over on raptitude.com.
Yeah, it's titled, appropriately enough, How to Exist. And we're also digging into some incredibly insightful comments from his readers that really flesh out this entire phenomenon.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out why human beings are so utterly terrified of just existing in the present moment and, well, more importantly, how we can actually train ourselves to cure this bizarre allergy to our own lives.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you, listening right now, imagine trying that 3-minute challenge. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah, how long would it actually take before you felt this irresistible urge to reach for your phone? Or maybe mentally rehash an awkward conversation from 5 years ago.
Or even just aggressively stretch your legs, right? I mean, if we're being brutally honest, for most of us, the discomfort sets in well before the 30-second mark. And this is the central thesis of the article. Human beings are strangely allergic to their natural habitat.
Which is crazy to think about.
Right. And our natural habitat is, literally by definition, the present moment. We constantly operate under this subconscious background feeling that raw, unfiltered existence is somehow a problem that needs to be solved.
Now, I have to push back on this a little bit because when I first read that, I wasn't entirely buying the whole existential allergy framing. I mean, isn't this just a fancy way of describing basic boredom?
I mean,
Like, we've all experienced waiting for a bus or a train when our smartphone battery is dead. You just stand there. It's dull. It's a lack of external stimuli. Basically, an understimulated brain looking for input. Why elevate that to an existential crisis? It feels like a mental treadmill we just can't turn off.
it's a fair pushback. It really is. But the author makes a very compelling case that it is fundamentally deeper than just a lack of entertainment. Boredom sort of implies you just want something fun to do.
Right, like you just need a distraction.
Exactly. But what we are talking about here is an existential discomfort. It is this pervasive underlying hum of anxiety that tells your nervous system there is always something wrong, even when absolutely everything is fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could be sitting in a perfectly climate-controlled room, fully rested, fully fed, with zero immediate threats, and your brain will still signal that something is missing. We feel vulnerable. We need to leave this moment. We only seem to tolerate the present moment when we're actively trying to shape it into the future.
Okay, that distinction actually starts to click when you look at the ice cream example from the article. Because if this was just about fixing boredom, well, then getting exactly what you want should instantly cure it, right?
You would think so, yeah.
Right. The author points out that you might think you are free from this allergy when you finally get a reward you've been craving. Imagine you've been looking forward to a massive cookie dough ice cream flurry all week.
Oh, that sounds amazing right now.
Doesn't it? You finally have it, you take that first spoonful. By all logic, that should be peak present moment bliss. You are no longer bored, you are heavily stimulated.
Right. You've achieved the goal. The boredom is technically solved.
But if you pay really close attention while you're eating it, you realize you want to move past that exact moment too. Even when you get exactly what you want, lingering on a single spoonful feels almost unbearable.
Yeah, you have this immediate, powerful drive to move on to the next bite before you've even fully experienced the one in your mouth.
Exactly. And as David jokes in the piece, that is exactly why you ordered a large. We just rush through the reward to get to more reward. We never actually rest in the experience itself.
Which perfectly highlights how we have built our entire lives around coping strategies. Because we literally can't handle the raw experience of just being here.
Even when here involves ice cream.
Exactly. Even with ice cream, we design our days as an endless series of escapes. We are perpetually seeking feelings and experiences that are not yet present. We just want to get the heck out of here, no matter how good here objectively is.
And those everyday escapes are so mundane, we don't even clock them as coping mechanisms. Like, we scroll through miserable, rage-inducing content on our phones just to feel a different frequency of anxiety.
Yeah, or we start petty arguments with our partners over how the dishwasher is loaded.
Or we wander into the kitchen and eat when our stomachs are completely full. Or, reaching for a phone during an unexpected wait or an awkward silence at a dinner party. It's funny, we brush off reaching for our phones as a mild habit, because when scientists actually test our tolerance for doing nothing, the results are genuinely disturbing.
You were referring to the 2014 science study, right?
Yes, and here's where it gets really interesting. Researchers conducted 11 different studies where they asked participants to spend just 6 to 15 minutes in a room by themselves. Nothing to do. No phones, no books, no writing materials,
Wow, just them?
just left alone with their own thoughts.
The literal daredevil experiment we opened with?
It-
Just
it-
raw existence.
Exactly. And the participants hated it with a passion. But the kicker is how much they hated it. The researchers gave them the option to push a button and administer a painful electric shock to themselves.
Which is just wild to think about.
It is, and a significant portion of the participants actually preferred to shock themselves rather than just sit there and exist. They literally chose physical pain over the psychological weight of sitting still.
What's fascinating here is that it forces us to ask, why on earth would a human being prefer a painful electric shock to a quiet room?
Right. Why?
And the answer lies in how our brains process problems. Physical pain is a tangible, immediate problem. It gives the brain something concrete to focus on and react to. Sitting in silence forces the brain to confront the void, which feels incredibly unsafe.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's worth noting here that even when we are sitting seemingly still, we often aren't really existing in the present.
Wait, what do you mean? Like, we are physically there but checked out?
Exactly. The author points out that rumination, that endless, exhausting cycle of overthinking your past mistakes or projecting anxiety onto your future problems.
I know it well.
Right, we all do. Well, that rumination is actually a sneaky form of escape. We trick ourselves into thinking we are doing important problem solving. But really, rumination is just your brain fleeing the physical present.
So we would rather be stressed out about a theoretical problem tomorrow than experience the quiet nothingness of right now.
Yep. Although apparently electric shocks work even better than overthinking.
It's wild. But, if you thought the electric shocks were extreme, the statistic about firefighters completely blew my mind.
Oh, the arson statistic, yeah.
The author brings up that roughly 100 firefighters in North America are convicted of arson every single year, often on multiple counts. And the demographic is usually young, new recruits who are stationed at quiet firehouses.
That is a staggering reality.
Right.
And it was echoed so well by a reader named Greg in the comments. He mentioned his building's fire alarm constantly going off due to brink toast and mundane things like that.
Right.
And he suddenly realized just how mind-numbingly understimulated those responding firefighters must get. I mean, they are highly trained for intense, high-stakes action and then forced to sit in the quiet present for days on end.
Right. But to go from being bored at the firehouse to literally setting a building on fire, that requires a massive leap.
It does.
But when you look at the neurobiology of it, it actually makes a terrifying kind of sense. Dopamine isn't just the reward chemical, it's a motivation and seeking chemical. It evolved to reward problem solving and threat neutralization.
Right.
So when these guys, who are pumped full of adrenaline and trained to solve literal life or death crises, are deprived of action, their dopamine systems go into a state of painful withdrawal.
Yeah, they are so desperate to escape the quiet reality of just waiting around that they manufacture a crisis. They set a fire just to give their brains a problem to solve.
Which is just terrifying.
Precisely. They are acting out a biological imperative that has misfired. Which brings us to the root of all this.
Okay, so why are our brains wired to sabotage our own peace like this?
Well, to understand why we are like this, we have to look at the evolutionary hardware we are running on. There was a fantastic perspective shared in the comments by a reader named Ginzo.
I remember that one.
Yeah, Ginzo connects this relentless restlessness to our core survival instincts, specifically referencing the concept of the selfish gene.
Okay, break that down for us, because a selfish gene gets tossed around a lot. How does evolutionary biology actually wire the brain to produce anxiety during stillness?
It comes down to how our genes ensure their own survival and replication. If you think about our prehistoric ancestors, the environment was incredibly hostile.
Right, predators everywhere.
Exactly. Food was scarce, predators were everywhere, and the weather could literally kill you. So a brain that allowed early humans to just sit under a tree, totally content, admiring the sunlight for hours, well, that brain didn't get passed down.
Because that person got eaten by a tiger.
Yep. Or they starved when winter came because they weren't preparing. Our evolutionary hardware is ruthlessly designed to reward action and punish complacency.
So total complacency wasn't just lazy, it was effectively a death sentence.
Exactly. The brain is programmed to constantly scan the horizon for the next threat to neutralize or the next resource to acquire. When you try to sit perfectly still in a safe room for 3 minutes, your ancient biology doesn't know you live in a secure apartment.
It's just freaking out.
Yeah, it floods your system with stress hormones, screaming, "What are you doing? You should be gathering calories. You should be checking the perimeter. Doing nothing is dangerous." The anxiety you feel is literally a survival mechanism trying to keep you alive.
But David Cain replied to that comment and added a really crucial layer. Because it's not just our ancient biology acting alone. Another commenter, Rhoda, pointed out that people are now genuinely terrified to even hear the voices of their own thoughts.
That is so true.
And David agreed that while survival instincts drive this restlessness, modern life is acting as a massive multiplier for this ancient anxiety.
Yes, and the mechanics of how modern life does this are fascinating. Our brains evolved to seek out scarce rewards, like a bush full of berries, and to be hyper-vigilant of rare threats. But modern technology has hijacked those exact pathways.
Because we carry an infinite buffet of micro-threats and micro-rewards in our pockets all day long.
Exactly. Your phone mimics the prehistoric environment, but on steroids. A new like on a photo is a micro-reward that hits the same dopamine receptors as finding a calorie-dense food source.
Wow, yeah.
And a news alert about a political crisis is a micro-threat that triggers the same cortisol spike as hearing a twig snap in the dark. Our minds simply have too many modern things to latch onto, and the brain cannot tell the difference between a real survival threat and an unread email.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the tragedy of it is so clear. We are fighting an ancient biological instinct, the need to constantly seek an advantage to survive. But we are fighting it inside an environment perfectly, almost maliciously, designed to exploit it.
That is the perfect way to phrase it. We are training our brains to be hyperallergic to stillness.
Because we are biologically driven to scratch the itch, and modern technology provides a million customized ways to scratch it, which just trains the brain to itch more often. So if our ancient biology and our smartphones are teaming up to make existence agonizing, how do we actually fix this without moving to a monastery?
Well, the author offers a highly accessible, surprisingly simple solution. You practice. You practice existing, but you only do it for a few seconds at a time.
Just a few seconds.
Yeah, the entire trick is to sit there and actively embrace whatever feelings come up. The tingling in your hands, the weirdness of the silence, the tight chest, the unsettled desire to check your phone. You embrace the raw sensation of existence without trying to fix it, change it, or escape it.
I do want to mention, they briefly note a caveat in the article that those with PTSD or psychiatric disorders should consult a professional first.
Yes, absolutely. That's a very important caveat.
But for the rest of us, wait, this sounds like traditional meditation, focusing on your breath. Doesn't that just stress people out? Like, it turns relaxation into a performance. If your mind wanders to your grocery list, you feel like you're failing at meditating.
That is a very common and very valid reaction. And David actually addressed this exact friction in his response to the comments. He clarified that you aren't focusing on the breath in the way a lot of strict meditation is taught. The breath is not the object of your attention. The breath is just an interval timer.
An interval timer that completely reframes the exercise.
It changes everything because it removes the pressure of focus. The goal is to focus on the whole scope of feeling, letting it wash over you like warm surf. And you use a half breath, so just the inhale or just the exhale, which takes maybe 5 to 10 seconds as your minimum effective dose.
So you aren't committing to 20 minutes of utter silence where you have to fight your own thoughts. You are just committing to the duration of one inhale.
Precisely. You relax every muscle you possibly can. You breathe in, and for those 5 to 10 seconds, you open yourself to every sensation. The doubt, the weirdness, a random itch on your shoulder, the temperature of the air, the urge to move.
You don't fight any of it.
Right. You don't study those feelings. You don't judge them. And most importantly, you don't try to fix them. You just let them happen, and then you let them go. On the out-breath, you try to completely release any physical defensiveness. As the author beautifully puts it, you try to become a human puddle on the out-breath.
A human puddle. I love that visual because you can't fail at being a puddle. A puddle doesn't have an agenda, it just rests there. And the way he scales this up is so approachable. You don't jump from 10 seconds to an hour. You start with just one half breath, just one inhale where you accept existence.
And once you can do that without squirming, you try it on the exhale.
Then you try stringing an inhale and an exhale together.
You're slowly building a tolerance, much like exposure therapy. Eventually, you might try it for 5 minutes, taking breaks whenever you get frazzled.
Yeah.
You just reset, because as he says, you have infinite breaths to practice with.
So what does this all mean for daily life? Like, if I actually commit to doing this, taking a few seconds here and there to be a human puddle, I guess you're essentially building up an immunity. You're proving to your highly evolved paranoid nervous system that a temporary lack of stimuli isn't actually a threat.
That is exactly the mechanism at work. The payoff is that regular practice keeps your allergy symptoms mild. When you train your brain to tolerate the raw feeling of existence for a few seconds at a time, suddenly the minor discomforts of daily life lose their power to send you into a panic.
Because the grocery store line just becomes a line.
Yes. Waiting in a slow line, feeling a bit too hot in a crowded room, or sitting with the uncertainty of waiting for an important email. All these mundane situations become completely tolerable. You no longer feel that spike of cortisol demanding you escape them.
Which means the magnetic pull of your coping mechanisms starts to fade. If you aren't desperately fleeing the present moment, the urge to doom scroll for 2 hours disappears. The random snacking when you aren't hungry stops. The nail biting, the starting arguments out of boredom.
The arson.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
ideally the arson. All of it loses its grip on you. You realize there is so much you simply no longer need to do because plain old existence finally feels okay.
It is incredibly liberating. And it reminds us that we don't need to carve out an hour of silent, perfect meditation on a mountaintop to find peace. We literally just need 5 to 10 seconds. We just need one half breath to practice dropping our defenses.
And this brings to mind a wonderful story shared in the comments by a reader named Jack Gregoire. He recalled a memory from his youth, seeing his dad sitting out in the backyard at a picnic table under a large sycamore tree.
I love that story.
Yeah, Jack went outside and asked his dad what he was up to. His dad replied, "I'm doing absolutely nothing and it's wonderful."
Right. And Jack asked him what he was looking at, and his dad said, nothing. He asked him what he was thinking about, and his dad said, nothing. My mind is blank.
That is so rare.
It really is. His dad wrapped up the conversation by telling him, someday, I hope you can get good at just doing nothing every once in a while. You'll see. It's good for you.
What a profound thing to model for a kid. And what a stark, almost painful contrast to how we live today, where doing nothing is treated as a moral failure.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with a critical question to consider. In our hyper-stimulated, constantly connected modern world, where massive corporations spend billions of dollars employing behavioral psychologists just to compete for every single second of our attention, what if the ultimate, most unattainable luxury isn't buying a new experience, or booking an exotic vacation, or acquiring the latest gadget designed to distract us?
Wow, yeah.
What if the greatest luxury of all is simply cultivating the mental real estate to sit under a tree, stare at absolutely nothing, and be completely perfectly content?
That is a phenomenal thought to leave on, diffusing the bomb of our own boredom. Thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive. Before you reach for your phone to hit play on your next audio track or check your messages or rush into your next task, we invite you to take just one half breath. Relax your shoulders, become a human puddle, and for just 5 seconds, experience the pure, simple act of existing. We'll see you next time.